Christmas. Hope you guys all have a great week with your family and your friends. Ooh, I'm very nervous today. Well, it's that time of year that we like to focus on things that are near and dear to our hearts. So I'm going to open up with a pretty familiar scripture. It's Matthew 6:19-21 in the ESV. It says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And when I think of my earthly possessions, I really don't have too many treasures. I have things I like and I enjoy. I'm not denying that. I have things, but I don't consider many things true treasures. However, when I start putting up the Christmas decorations each year, I am reminded that I do have some treasures. I actually have about 200 of them, in fact, and those are my Christmas ornaments. And over the years, they have actually become my most prized possessions, and they have become my tiny treasures. If there was a fire in our home, and you were able to just grab one thing, I would grab my ornament boxes. Because pictures are now digital, purses can be repurchased, but those ornaments, they can't be replaced. And they really do mean a lot to me, because every single ornament on that tree has a memory associated with it. I do not have an aesthetically pleasing tree. You're not going to find my tree in a magazine anywhere. And there isn't just one normal-looking bulb ornament on it. My ornaments represent family, friends, students, events, and family history. And when you look at those tiny treasures, you see me and the things I love. So media team, can you put up the first slide? You know, it's fun to get out those boxes each year and start unwrapping my tiny treasures. When I open up that Mickey Mouse eared ornament, I instantly remember the best vacation we ever took in 2015 when we went to Disney World. It was straight out of a fairy tale, and nothing will ever compare to that trip and the awe and wonder on my 9-year-old baby girl's face. And we have lots of vacation ornaments. I buy one every trip we go on. I get to open each ornament every year and think of all the great places we've been and the amazing experiences we've had. I've gone on vacations with my husband and my daughter, vacations with my extended family, parents and siblings, vacations with just me and my husband before we had our child. And it's crazy because my memory isn't really that great these days, but I still remember the little store in Cosmo, Mexico, where I bought that nativity in a gourd ornament. And I put up the old, kind of chipping letter G ornament, that one right there. And I think of my grandma. When she started downsizing her home and decided not to put up a tree anymore, she laid out all her ornaments for her kids and grandkids to pick it up whatever we wanted. And she held up this G ornament, because her last name was Jorgensen, and goes, "Oh no, a G? Who are we going to give this G to?" And then she was like, "Gerbing, G for Gerbing." And I think of our tiny little conversation every time I put it out. And I have lots of my grandma's ornaments, and great-grandma's too. And I remember in the early 2000s, I thought they were kind of dated, and I honestly did get rid of a few of the tarnished ones. But now when I look at these ornaments from the 1950s, and I think they are just really the coolest things ever. And they are a piece of my grandma and my great-grandma. The next slide. And every year, our family of 3 gets an ornament with our names on it. And as we're approaching my daughter moving out and starting a life on her own, I've been thinking about what to do with our annual ornament. Do I just go back to an ornament with just the 2 of us on it? Or do I keep the 3? And Chad says we keep the 3. And as years go on, we'll start adding to it. And as she gets married, there'll be 4 of us. And if they have kids, there'll be 5, 6, however many, you know. And the ornaments are just going to get bigger and bigger, not smaller each year. And the last slide. And I put up the ornament my mom gave me the year she was going through stage 4 cancer, and she wrote a private letter and placed it inside that ornament that has a latch on it and opens. And each year I open it up and have a little cry, and I thank God for pulling us through that horrible time. And I put up the banana ornament my dad once had on his tree. He had a weird obsession of eating a banana a day. And when I used to call home, back when there was only landlines, no cell phones, he'd just pick up the phone. You never knew who was going to answer. And he'd answer and say, "Hello, how are you doing? Are you eating your bananas and taking your vitamins? Here's your mother." And I have many ornaments that remind me of my mom and my dad that they gave me or were gifts from them. And I think of them every time I look at them. I have the ornaments my daughter made me or gave me as gifts, and I always smile when I see them, because that beautiful little face will always be at the front of my tree. And I have ornaments I've had my whole life, ones from my childhood. That baby's first ornament, Christmas ornament from 1980 has seen better days, but I still put her up faithfully. And I have weird ornaments that probably should find their way to Goodwill, but I'm just not ready to let go of them yet. They find their way to the back of the tree. And they're not something I want to stare at every night, but I'm not willing to let go of it yet. We have Flounder and Sebastian McDonald's ornaments, Diet Coke ornaments, Hedgie and Sloth ornaments, family photo ornaments, ornaments my sister and my sister-in-law made me, ornaments my mom painted, ornaments from previous employers, ornaments, and more ornaments. But every single ornament has a memory and a story. And I could literally spend the next 2 hours telling you tales about my ornaments that really won't mean too much to you. But my tiny treasures mean everything to me, and those treasures have my heart. But the thing is, putting 200 ornaments on a tree is a lot of work. And at some point, I know I've romanticized this whole looking at each ornament and recounting the memories associated with it, but this isn't just an hour-long project. It usually takes me several days to get all the ornaments up, and at some point it really does become a chore. No one else in the family wants to help. They both love the tree and likes the way it looks, but they don't enjoy the project. My husband says we have too many ornaments, and the kid always has homework or something else to do. So at some point, every single year, you will most likely hear me yell, "Why is no one helping me with the ornaments?" And I'll put like 10 on at a time and walk away and go do something else. And it really does take me a week to get most of them up. But when the work is done, I sit on the couch and stare at them every night. I get to spend about a month in my happy place, looking at my tiny treasures and think of all my memories until the Christmas season is over and I put them back in the basement until next year. It's a lot of work, but I love it, and to me, it's worth it. So church, this morning, I want you to know that you have to work for the things you love. Those tiny treasures of mine don't just show up on that tree. It takes a lot of work. We all have our own personal earthly treasures that we're willing to put in the work to possess. Some might be big, like fancy cars or fancy houses. Some of us have collections of shoes, purses, sports memorabilia, hunting gear, or on and on. These are all earthly treasures, and there's nothing wrong with working hard and having things. But if we are willing to work for those treasures, how much more should we be working for the treasures in heaven? My opening scripture said, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven." That means our earthly treasures are going to pass, but our treasures in heaven are eternal. If I love those ornaments so much here on earth, I can't even imagine the treasures that exist in heaven. And if I'm being honest, I don't spend too much time thinking about heaven and what it looks like, because something beyond my scope of comprehension. It's going to be something so magnificent, I can't even put an earthly context on it. All I know is that when I get there, is that I want to get there, and I want to bring others with me. So that means I'm going to have to do some work. And church, we're all going to have to do some work. And I know it's Christmas time, and hey, I'm taking the next week off, and I get it. And we all need time to recharge and unwind. But the whole point of this message is that there's work to be done. And I wanted to encourage us to keep doing the work. It's not always easy, but the payoff is out of this world. Our families are worth working for. Over 20 years of my family having literally no interest in any of the happenings of my church life. All of a sudden, over the past few years, they're showing up at stuff. And I tell you, this has been a work. But I can just see it. I got a taste of it at the gala when my sister's here with me, side by side, doing the work with me. And it's going to be worth it all. I know many of us have families we're working on, and it's not easy. And I understand, but someday, all the work is going to pay off. We just got to keep doing the work. Our children are worth working for. Our spouses are worth working for. Our friends are worth working for. Our coworkers are worth working for. The waitress at your favorite restaurant is worth working for. That parent at your kid's dance competition is worth working for. And the Amazon driver who can never put the package in the right spot is worth working for. And my church is worth working for. This church, this body is worth working for. It's that busy season, and I know some of us are tired, we're weary, but we can't give up the hard work because there's just so much to be done. And just like with that tree, the job wasn't done until every single ornament was put on it. And our job isn't done until every single soul has been reached or until Jesus' return. And I want to encourage you to keep going. Colossians 3:23 through 24 in the NIV says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." Galatians 6:9 through 10 in the NIV says, "Let's not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." In 1 Corinthians 15:58 in the NIV, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." The promise is right there for those who don't give up. And this church has been doing the work, and that's why we're seeing all these great things happening here. Keep reaching out to those around you. Keep being a light in our community. Keep sharing your testimony. Keep embracing and welcoming guests. Keep praying and interceding. Keep studying and reading His Word. Keep serving the house in any way you are able. Keep focused on Him and keep doing the work. As we head into the start of 2025, I want you to reignite your passion for your ministry. If you don't have a ministry, now would be a great time to talk to our pastor and get the process going of getting you plugged into a department. And make sure you attend First Steps today, following service, But for those of us who have been diligently working, I feel strongly that now is the time to get renewed in your ministry. Last year I had a pretty major back surgery, and I told my family that we would not be putting up the tree because I just wasn't able to do it. Well, lo and behold, they protested, and they decided they were going to do the tree together. And shockingly, they did not do it the way I wanted them to do it. And it really was a disaster. And after about one box of ornaments, Chad decided he was done. So all the ornaments did not go up that year. So some pretty major ones, my favorites, were missing.